to Walking with J.Beau, an almost daily walking vlog. This is a MAHA, Make America Healthy Again vlog. It's not about anything in particular. A lot of times I walk the same routes. It can be redundant. Other times I do not. You can check out my past walks and playlists if you enjoy watching walks. As we see two squirrels chasing each other up here. 3 of them. The squirrels are squirreling. They look like they're having fun. Hey. A friendly squirrel. So, I have the camera mounted on my head today because I don't feel like carrying it for 5 miles. And we are going to do a basic 5 miles. Yesterday we did 6. Well, almost. So I saw a film clip earlier of President Trump showing up at the US Open. And he walked out on a little balcony thing and got a big ovation from fans at the game, at the tournament. Trump's popularity is the highest he's been yet. 55%, I believe. Amazing, huh? Somebody gets elected and does what the voters want, and they become more popular. Isn't that crazy? The Democrats wanted to win the White House. They should have just done something about crime. They would be in the White House right now. But they're not smart enough to do that, so F them. Now I'm going to take a minute to talk about something. This is really important, and the beginnings of my walks is where most of the people watch and then they don't watch. So while I have your attention, don't get complacent and don't sit on your laurels. Yes, the Republican Party is doing really good right now. Trump is doing very well. Everything is going very well. Almost too well. And Republican voters are going to get complacent and they're not going to vote next year. And that's going to help the Democrats. That's usually why at midterms the sitting president loses the House. I want to remind you, we lose the House, it's going to be 2 years of doing everything to stall President Trump's agenda. Nothing will get passed. Nothing. I mean literally nothing. They're going to impeach. It's going to be a circus. And to be honest with you, I don't think the American people want a vengeance tour by Democrats. Now the Democrats, conversely, are very hyped up. They're excited about going to vote. So even if the Democrats are not very popular, they'll have a chance at winning the House. Because one, they do have history on their side with that. But that's not a given. Everything else with Trump's presidency has been not normal. So You can't say things like, well, the Democrats will win the House, I'm not worried about it. And you might actually get some Democrat voters not voting, thinking they're going to win it anyway. So so you always have that aspect of it. But they make it sound like no opposing party ever wins midterms, and that's false. It's happened. Very, very rare, but it has happened. So I keep catching a smell of something dead when I walk by here. Bugs me. Anyway, make sure you vote next year and you tell people to go vote. Get people to go vote. And yes, I'm starting on this really early, but get used to it. It's going to be something I'm going to talk about on a fairly regular basis. It's that important. Next year's election is almost as important as the presidential. Hopefully we will see other people promote it in that same way as well. So we'll have to wait and see, of course. But it is very important. So I was very surprised with Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, who has, in my opinion, he's getting Trump derangement syndrome. A Republican. So far, I don't think he's voted on anything Trump's wanted. He didn't vote for the one big beautiful bill. He's been complaining about tariffs. And now he's complaining about the attack on that drug cartel boat. And he actually used, and I have no idea why he used this analogy, he compared it to To Kill a Mockingbird book. If you've ever read that, it's about a black man who was falsely accused of rape because he was black. And so I guess he's trying to say that we just blew up a boat free-nilly-willy without verifying who was on it, which is not the case. So very disappointing to see him do that, especially when it was time for him to be re-elected. He showed up at Trump rallies and gave speeches. So I think Rand Paul is now on my shit list. He's a libertarian. Libertarians are all funny that way. And they believe people should not be taxed, which is what I believe. I believe in holding up the Constitution at all costs. I believe that too. But they don't adapt to current situations. They would rather sit around a campfire singing Kumbaya in an unrealistic environment that is Washington, D.C., that their mantras do not fit at this current time. He might have fit in 1776. That's not where we are right now. We're in a republic that is fighting to be saved, being run by corrupt people in DC in both parties, both major parties. And it's not as easy as that, Mr. Rand Paul. He's living in fantasy land and he's pissing people off. So many people have been killed with fentanyl. They don't want to hear that garbage. They want results. That's why they voted for Trump. Trump's doing something about it. Voters are not going to like Rand Paul for saying that. I don't. But just like Thomas Massie, the congressman, they won't come out and denounce Donald Trump, but they're doing everything but. They're behaving like Democrats. And I fear that's where Rand Paul has gone. So, not impressed. So today it's mostly overcast. We had rain all day today, pretty much. We had rain yesterday, most of the day. It's not going to alleviate any drought problems. We need to have more rain, but we're going to have more sun, which is okay because my brother is one of them. Is flying back into the state. I gotta go pick him up at the airport this week. We'll have a great range day next week. It's going to be about 70 degrees with all sun. Should be really nice. It will be a lot of fun. So I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt with an oversized t-shirt on top of that. That time of year. Today's 62 degrees today for a high temperature. Well, the high is 64. It's actually 62 right now. But we're going to warm up a bit over the next couple days. It's not cold by any means. So anyways, I'll get this walk in today. It's nice to see President Trump getting some gratitude from voters with the polling. He's being rewarded for his efforts. I think the American public has Democrat fatigue. They're sick of the antics, the circus, the propaganda, the bullshit they see in the media. And, you know, you got to hand it to President Trump. He's got the Democrats defending crime, defending cartels. So, I mean, that's crazy, right? The Democrats are falling prey to that. They're just falling for it. Knee-jerk reaction. They can't help it. Trump says go left, they gotta go right. They can't say we're gonna go left too, but the way you're doing it is stupid. That would serve them so much better. Right now, nobody knows anything the Democrats are supporting except the socialists in New York. It's not a good message. Bernie Sanders last night showed up at the anti-oligarchy tour and endorsed Mamdani. And I gotta tell you, Andrew Cuomo is a terrible candidate. Mayor Adams, terrible mayor. There's nothing there for Mamdani to lose. The only chance they have is if the Republican, the guardian angel, who's a good guy, a good Republican, he's got good ideas, but he's not going to win in New York. And he can go on TV and keep saying that he's got a shot to win if he wants, but it's never going to happen. He's just eating up votes. I'd like to see the independent Cuomo running against Mamdani, and the only reason why Mamdani is where he is because the Democrat candidates suck. Andrew Cuomo sucks. He just sucks. He sucked as a governor. He sucks as a candidate. So it's almost like a perfect storm to elect the socialist. So we're going to see. My prediction is Mamdani is going to win the election. The only chance he won't is if Democrats decide to cheat somehow. And don't put it past them to not do that. Because the DNC has not supported Mamdani because the Democratic Party is still being run by the elites, the establishment, and Mamdani is as much a threat to them as he is to democracy itself. Socialists are dangerous because they use the word democracy all the time, and they have no concept of what that is. None. They want to run everything. And all that Mamdani is going to do if he wins, Zoran Mamdani, is the rich people are going to leave New York, and they're not going to have anybody to get their money from. It's going to be a disaster. So the other thing I like is President Trump says he's going into Chicago. Tom Homan today on the networks explained that the National Guard is basically going to be backup to protect ICE because of past incidences we saw with people attacking ICE. Federal government has a right to do that. And again, it's forcing Democrats to defend illegals, something that they just lost the election on. That was a big election topic. People support deporting illegals. Trump's doing what the people voted for. So the Democrats are going to be forced to defend it. They can't understand, and I honestly believe Democrats honestly don't understand why Trump is the most popular he's been yet. And it comes after the crackdown in D.C. Maybe they should get their heads out of their asses and listen to the people instead of listening to the establishment in D.C. As far as I'm concerned, I hope the Democrats keep doing that. They're really shooting themselves in the feet. Stupid. Stupid. So anyway, we are where we are. We're winning. Can't get complacent though. We'll just give it all away. And all this bullshit with Republicans going after and eating each other up now that we've won, it's stupid, it's embarrassing, and it needs to stop. We're going to support the guy we voted for, which is what I'm doing. 20% of MAGA are morons. And about the same amount, actually a little more than that, of Democrat voters are morons too. Too many morons. Some more brown leaves across the street. Not good, my friends, not good. On my way back, I got to pick up some milk and some meat. Milk and meat make my world go round. Greek festival. Got some squawking going on there. Squawking up a storm. Yeah, boy. Sun's trying to poke through. The clouds are leaving. It's gonna be warmer tomorrow. So the latest political projections I've seen, just solely based on betting markets, A lot of the online predictors have been using betting markets because it reflects how people feel. Even though it's only people that are betting money, it can give you a consensus about how people are feeling about their party and how they're going to vote. So, as we see a beautiful sky up there, goodness, we can get a peep at it. Look at that, sun's coming out. Oh, that's pretty. Look at that. So the consensus right now looks like Republicans are going to win the Senate, stay probably about where we are right now, 51 to 53 seats. It's pretty much been agreed upon. Susan Collins should win this race in Maine. The strongest candidate that would run against her would be Janet Mills. And somebody else beeping at a camera on my head. So it's funny when people see a camera, they got to be on camera. So it looks like one race I'm going to be watching is you have Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan, who was supposed to win easily. She ran as a moderate Democrat to appeal to conservatives or independents that lean right. And she has been anti-Trump. She's said a lot of dumb things. And she showed her true colors. I still think she's, because she's an incumbent, it's really difficult to unseat an incumbent. You need somebody special. And, but Mike Rogers ran against her. And asshole McConnell didn't give him the money he needed to run a good campaign like he wanted to. And he lost by 3 points, or less than a point, actually. 0.03. That was a very close race that we could have won if he would have had some more money behind him. But Mitch McConnell wouldn't delve out the money. So hopefully John Thune is more in tune with what's going on in the country and puts up some money to defeat Alyssa Slotkin, because the Democrats are in a hole right now. The other race we need to win is John Ossoff in Georgia. Georgia's a red state. It freaked out a little in 2020 because of the pandemic and mail-in votes. Well, Georgia has cleaned up the voting and stuff like that. So while a lot of people think the incumbent John Ossoff is going to win, I don't think he's going to. And I say that because he's another left lunatic who hates Trump, and he talks too much. So he stole a red seat. Now, I had lumped in Warnock with him as well, but Warnock got re-elected in 2022. I forgot all about that. Got elected in 2022. So Ossoff had to win in a runoff election. Okay, that's the other thing. He did not win easily. It was very close. It's going to be close again. But I think ultimately this time, because of the One Big Beautiful Bill and people getting their money back and the economy getting better, I think Ossoff's going to be out the door, because Ossoff voted against the trans stuff that Republicans wanted to pass. Georgia's a red state that hates the trans stuff. So I think there's going to be mitigating factors involved in ousting Ossoff. because he went along with the party instead of his district. So, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, we'll see what happens. Let's keep an eye on both of those dogs with my peripheral vision. Peripheral vision. That's why I wasn't talking. They hear somebody talking, they start barking. One of those dogs was tied up and the other one wasn't. So, I wasn't worried about the one tied up. But that owner seemed like she knows her dogs. The dog's having a good walk. So the Democrats can try to cover up the crimes that we're seeing on TV, or not seeing on TV, I should say. We have two incidents I want to talk about that the media is not talking about, and actually it's probably going to be the first time you hear about it. It just happened a while ago, yesterday I believe. A blonde woman was sitting on a subway train with her face in her phone, okay? I'm not blaming her, but you know, people are not watching what's going on around them. And right now it's warm in New York, Chicago, places like that. And if you see people on a train dressed up in a hoodie, chances are, you know, I don't want to stereotype people, but stereotypes exist for a reason. And sure enough, this big giant black guy killed her, stabbed her. He just stood up, he was sitting behind her, stood up and just stabbed her to death. So she's dead. Pretty little blonde thing, dead. She had her face in her phone and she should have been watching around her. Right? So the other incident I saw that I want to talk about is Philadelphia. This guy was punching the crap out of this woman. Another woman came in to help him. And the video looks like on the cell phone, like the lens had fingerprints on it or something. It's kind of fuzzy, like there's a film or fog, you know what I mean? But to me, watching it, it looks like the guy that was beating up the woman had another woman come in to help her. And I think, it's hard to tell in the video, but I think the black guy took the gun away from the friend that was coming in to help her, took that gun and then shot the person he was punching. And then there was another shot after that. So I don't know what the other shot was at, but the guy that did it just stood around after he did it. So he was detained, they arrested him. So 3 of them may have known each other. But anyway, I watched this uncensored video of this guy. After he had beat this girl up, she was kind of out of it. She was trying to stand up, and he just put the gun there and shot her. Shot her dead. He may have shot her a second time. I couldn't really tell because of the video. Now this was filmed from right across the street, but the damn camera belonged to a freaking slob apparently, and probably had lunchtime schmutz on the lens, grease or something. But anyway, media didn't cover that. They didn't cover the blonde girl in the subway that got stabbed to death. So they're going to try to make Democrat-run cities look like there's no crime, I guess is my point. And we should not have expected any less from the mainstream media. And they don't seem to understand that that doesn't work anymore now anyway, because both videos that I saw, each one of them had millions, literally millions of views. So Americans are seeing it, they're just not watching it on CBS. And people aren't watching very much on CBS these days. I don't single out CBS singularly. I'm just saying the mainstream media. Insert whatever. You got NBC that was, you know, MSNBC, calling the cartel boat attack as an act of war, for crying out loud. We blew up some criminals in the boat with some drugs, and now that's an act of war against Venezuela. I mean, how sick and stupid are Democrats? So what they're really upset with is they're upset with the way J.D. Vance told them, I don't give a shit what you call it. We call it a good use of military power to keep Americans safe. In other words, we're doing what we said we were going to do. Just about every campaign rally, Trump said that he was going to bomb the shit out of the cartels. He talked about military strikes. He said he was going to treat them like they were ISIS. He was going to put them on a terrorist watch list, the designated terrorist list, which he did. That gives the military authority to kill them wherever we see them. And we've been training our satellites and intel, surveillance drones. We've been tracking their shipments, tracking the routes they do, what they've been doing. We've been monitoring their bank transactions. Everything we do with terrorist organizations. It's going to be all-out war against the cartels, and they deserve it, and I support it. I fully support that. It's not a due process issue. They're not citizens. They're doing stuff that hurts our country, and I don't understand all the hullabaloo to defend them. So right now I'm going to make my way over to the restroom there. As we hit 2.5 miles. All these people having fun in the park today. Swing sets. Nice little park. The Lenny Breau Pergola. If you're not familiar with Lenny Breau, very famous guitar player from the Lewiston Auburn area here, world class. He's played all over the world. If you're not familiar with Lenny Breau, look him up. If you are, then well, that makes you one of the cool kids. So I gotta use the restroom up here. Guts to go. Guts to go, guts to go. I'll be right back, my friends. Don't run away on me. Survived that, just barely. Whew, that was bad. I can tell this is the end of the year. They're not cleaning stuff up like they should. Goes down about 15 feet, the hole there. And I think there's a, goes on to an existing sewer or something. They need to flush it. So anyways, my friends, I'm going to keep walking past the 2.5 mile mark, the halfway point, the point of no return. I'm glad they use unscented hand sanitizer. I think I used the last of it too, because I was pushing it and nothing else was coming out after I got what I needed. Oh well. So on the way back, we'll stop at the grocery, get some stuff. Tree right there last year was disappointing because of rain we had. Actually, it was the year before. Jeez, time flies. That year we had all that record rainfall. The fall foliage was terrible. Last year it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. And this year it might be, some of those leaves up there are starting to turn early. So we might see them actually turn early this year. But it may still be pretty good. I will monitor it. I will keep an eye on it. So the good news is the guy that shot that girl on the corner in Philadelphia got arrested for it. And they want to talk to that third party, see what she had to do with this. Because if that guy ended up taking that firearm from her, she had an illegal firearm, because they're banned in Philadelphia. But that's another one of my points, you know. All these places where they have the strictest gun laws in the country, you can't even buy a BB gun in Philadelphia unless you use a federal licensed firearm dealer. A BB gun. So, because these thugs will use a BB gun because they look realistic, some of them, to hold up stores. So rather than locking people up and sending them away, because they're minors, we can't do that. The killing continues. So, and you know that shooting I saw in Philadelphia today, it's like, I don't care what she did. It doesn't matter what she did. Nobody deserves to be ended like that on a street corner, being shot to death. So, there was a security guard on the corner, security guy, and as soon as the shooting started, he took off. Why? Well, because he's not armed. He's not armed. What's he gonna do? He's supposed to just be a presence there to try to prevent that, and obviously that didn't happen. I don't blame him at all. I saw people online going, I ain't gonna do anything to help. Now they're assuming he was armed security. If he was armed security, that'd be different, but he wasn't. From what I saw anyway. He was standing there holding a coffee. Pulled his coffee close into his chest like, oh my God. He turned around and ran across the street. like everybody else did that wasn't armed. That guy was standing there fighting with her, pulled the gun out. Anybody with a gun had time to empty a magazine into him. It just friggin' kills me. Just kills me, the logic of disarming everybody. For one thing, knowing other people carry, you're not going to see that happen. You would not see that happen here. And if it did, they wouldn't last long. You know, we had that mass shooting here. That was because it was a gun-free zone where they made people leave their guns in their cars, and Robert Card knew that. He knew that. That's why he picked that spot. Any place that serves alcohol, you cannot bring your firearm into in Maine, or you get charged with a crime. So you get two choices. If you have to use your firearm and it's a legit reason, I don't think a jury would convict you or even indict you if you stopped a mass shooter. Robert Card went into that just-in-time recreation and he just started shooting his AR-10, which is a .308 caliber. So that's a military round. Judging by people's injuries, it was full metal jacket and not expansive ammunition. Not expensive, expansive. They weren't hollow points. So and his gun jammed. It was a gun malfunction he could not fix. And he was an instructor, very well versed in firearms. So something happened. I'm thinking a round got stuck in chamber, the shell casing, and wouldn't extract, or something else happened. I never found out if he loaded his own ammunition. Maybe he loaded himself a round that was too hot and it damaged the gun. But he had his AR-15 as a backup in his car, so he just left and went to the next location. Now, he was also carrying a 9mm pistol. But when that jam happened, somebody, if they had been armed, could have taken him out. So, but we'll never know now. We can live our lives in hypothetical land if we want to, but the bottom line is, people that did have firearms in there left them in their car because they were being lawful. And they became sitting ducks. That is a fact. One that comes to mind was the retired police officer who ended up flipping up tables to shield the children on children's bowling night instead of engaging the suspect. So hypothetically speaking, if people could have had firearms in there, Robert Card may not have chosen that place. And then after his gun malfunction, somebody could have put him down. And that would have saved the lives of the other people he killed at the second location. Whole bunch of hypothetical what ifs. I get it. I also get it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. But, you know, I don't think I've said anything that's unreasonably, yeah, that's true, isn't it? So anyway, the New Hampshire, on the gun stuff, the New Hampshire Attorney General in light of 2 New Hampshire residents who were arrested for illegal possession of a firearm in Massachusetts, even though as a New Hampshire resident they can legally carry with constitutional carry. So 2 people are going to be charged, or were charged, with felony illegal possession of a firearm, and they're going to go to jail for it. Because Massachusetts is filled with communists. So the New Hampshire Attorney General is seeking to get an emergency petition with the Supreme Court having to do with reciprocity. One of the things demonstrated in the news piece that I saw, which was actually CBS in Boston, was that this guy that owns a gun shop, on his half of the parking lot, to New Hampshire, you can legally, as a citizen, stand there holding a firearm, or have it on you, or conceal it, or carry it open, whatever you want to do. And from the Massachusetts side, they can look at you doing it, and because one side of the parking lot is Massachusetts and the other side is New Hampshire, you go to jail with a felony weapons charge, illegal possession, if you step across the middle of the parking lot. And that's why it's completely ridiculous. For one thing, the government should not be regulating a Second Amendment. Supreme Court's going to have to do a lot of this stuff. And I know I have beat this analogy to death, but it doesn't escape the point that it's true that rioting happened in 2020 as the result of the First Amendment. Because the argument they always like to use is that guns kill people, words don't. So you can't compare the two. Well, words, quote unquote, burned down half the country in 2020, resulting in many deaths and hundreds of billions of dollars in damage nationwide. So don't tell me that words cannot cause problems. And nobody with a sane mind would suggest regulating the First Amendment, where if you're going to protest, you have to get a permit, and you need a psychiatric exam to prove that you're not going to start riots. And you need a criminal background check to protest. That certainly would end violent protest, wouldn't it? But the First Amendment shall not be infringed. Neither should the Second. Unfortunately, politicians seem to think that the Second Amendment is different than the First, and it's not. Gun laws need to be abolished. Period. So when you say that, oh, so you're okay with somebody that's been arrested for violent assault having a gun then? Where did I say that? I didn't say that. You commit a crime, you should not be able to own a firearm. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with preemptively restricting firearms because you're assuming people are going to be criminals. So That's what I'm talking about. We can't just start banning people from owning firearms just because that particular group might be dangerous. If that were the case, Democrats would have banned Republicans from owning firearms because of January 6th. Democrats were talking about, and they were seriously talking about it. Banning people that were Republicans from political gatherings. They were talking about doing that in 2020. Another stupid, dumb, knee-jerk reaction by Democrats. Can you imagine banning Trump rallies because you equate white nationalism with Nazis? And Democrats wanted to do that. This stuff all gets really crazy. I'm just never going to bend on that kind of stuff. Perfect example is when Obama was president, they were talking about the LGBT stuff they were doing then was a slippery slope. Look what happened. Damn right, it slippery sloped into what's going on today with tampons in boys' bathrooms. Kids in Minnesota. That is why they call it a slippery slope. So we can't start treating the Constitution like that, because that is a slippery slope. And that's going to be very bad. So we have to be careful with banning protesting, censoring free speech, banning firearms from groups we don't agree with, things like that. Hi. So, be very careful with that stuff. We'll go up this way today. Well, looks like the sun's out, it's starting to set. That's nice. So earlier today I took my everyday carry and it's clean as a whistle. You know, I keep it clean. It'll function nicely when I need it. But once in a while you got to take it out and blow the dust off it, you know what I mean? And I literally had lint clogged in my holster around the trigger. It would have functioned. It just made me laugh. It was funny. That's because I have it with me when I walk. And inside the holster and on the firearm, it gets all covered in lint from clothing. So I unloaded it and unchambered the round and blew the dust out of it. Did a function test. It's good to go. And if you're wondering, I like to carry 40 caliber. Arguably though, 115 grain 9mm with a good defensive round is just as effective. But the 40 does very well, doesn't over penetrate, good expansion from hollow points. And I carry Spear Gold Dot. A lot of law enforcement use that. Keep off, do not climb or sit. Will do. I will remember that. It's not my plan to climb or sit on a gargoyle, but I will heed the warning anywho. First time the sun's been out in 2 days, which has been a rarity here this year. Extreme rarity. So the other thing is, that girl that got stabbed to death on the subway, you'd have to see the photograph. This guy was a big guy like me. She was probably 110 pounds, 120 if she was soaking wet. And this guy just took her out, man. Now, if I had been on the subway and I was armed, whether I had it legally or not, I would have shot that guy. I would have protected the girl. It's self-defense. That's legal in all 50 states, but New York, first of all, they would charge me because it was a black guy that got shot, and I'm a middle-aged white guy, and I had a gun illegally, which in New York it would be. I have one legally here. they would throw the book at me instead of looking at the black guy who has a history of mental illness. It's another one of those guys who the police know, and he's been a problem before, and they keep putting him out and releasing him. So this poor girl was just sitting there looking at her cell phone on the subway instead of watching her surroundings. If she had been paying attention to this guy, she would have picked up the vibes that something wasn't right. And she may have been injured. He may have still attacked her, but maybe he wouldn't have. Because he's crazy, you know? You can't rationalize with somebody that doesn't rationalize anything. So you're not going to hear Zoran Mamdani talk about this guy. Really pisses me off. New York is, you know, I really hate to use this language, but New York is fucked. It's been fucked for a while, and it's getting fucked even harder. This Mamdani guy is going to win this election. And like I said, the only chance of him not is Democrats doing something to make sure he doesn't win. But right now, the establishment Democrats are not supporting him. But as the election gets closer and you start seeing Pocahontas supporting him, which she did, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders has endorsed him, and the young voters love it. They're very intrigued and attracted to socialism. It's like an addictive candy to these kids. Because it sounds great. Oh, free health care for everybody, guaranteed income, everybody gets money. Pot should be legal. Housing, rent should be free. College should be free. Everything should be free. So I guarantee you, rich people are already making plans to exodus out of New York. In fact, Ron DeSantis in Florida said that Florida's property value just went up. And that's in reference to Bernie Sanders promoting Mamdani. So I'm telling you right now though, if the Democrats don't step in and put an end to Mamdani with some kind of scandal they uncover and leak to the press with a wink wink, we have to cover this to make sure this guy doesn't win. Media will do what they're told. And Andrew Cuomo is better than a communist. So the best thing that could happen right now is for Mayor Adams to drop out of this race, because he's only got 20% approval with people that live in the city. He's only got 9% of the vote right now, and that's not going to get better. Andrew Cuomo is the closest, so he's the one that it's just too bad that he's not a good candidate. I just think Mamdani is going to win unless the Democrats do something about it. And like an op-ed I read today, this might be the best thing that happens to New York by actually showing how terrible this guy is, by letting him run New York and having all these rich people that Mamdani thinks he's going to be taking money from to pay for all this stuff, and they pack up and leave. Go to another state, stop paying taxes in New York. Kathy Hochul's very worried about it. She should be, because they've already stretched their budget to the max. They've taxed the rich at a higher rate than other states do already. So they're going to be asked to pay more. I don't think they're going to stay in New York. I just don't. They didn't become rich by giving all their money away. So we'll watch what happens. But if this guy wins, New York City's done for. It's going to be really bad. This guy's got no experience. He comes from a wealthy family. Hasn't done anything. Except he's a good talker. And he's good looking. The ladies like him. Probably a lot of the men like him too for the same reason. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think this is going to be good. Actually, I got to walk back this way because I wanted to get some milk. So you guys get some bonus footage. I almost forgot. I got so into talking, I almost forgot what I had to stop at the store and get what I needed. So anyway, we're coming up towards the end of the walk anyway. So we'll walk down the rest of this way and I'll sign off with you. And I'll go to the store and get what I need. That would have sucked if I forgot to buy my meat. I've done that a couple times already. I just get into walking and then, oh wow, I walked right by the store and I didn't stop in it. We're almost at 5 miles anyway. Weather looks nice. The weather looks nice, my friends. All right, so we're coming up on 5 miles here shortly. I want to thank you for walking with me today. Click like and subscribe. Share the content. Do a quick little selfie here. Say how you doing, and say a prayer for Trump and the country. It's working. We're doing well. Things are going to be good. So we'll see you guys soon. Thank you very much for walking with me today. God bless and have a beautiful, beautiful week coming up. See you soon, my friends. Bye bye.